and my mic was off. All right, so my name is Bruce, and this is my site right here, Convocourses.com. I teach risk management framework. If you didn't know, I actually have a book out, and right for a limited time, it's just $10 on this site. Here it is right here. It's a breakdown of the risk management framework foundations. This book, if you've already purchased the actual risk management framework foundations course, it's going to be that this book is going to be in that course, so you don't have to repurchase this if this is going to be there. So but here it is right here. If you just happen to have $10 for a limited time, that's how much it's going to cost. It's also on Amazon if you prefer to purchase there, if you have some coupons or something right there. Here it is right here. It's currently #1 in management information systems. That's pretty cool. #1. Wow, that's amazing. It's #1 and #4. I don't know how that's possible, but there it is. It's #1 and #4 in Amazon management information systems. Go figure. Anyway, yes. So if you're interested in getting the course, if you're interested in one-on-one consulting, coaching, people have been contacting me about that for a long time, for years. I'm now available coaching and consulting. If you want me to come to your organization and actually work on risk management framework, system security plans, or your documentation, or do a risk assessment, stuff like that, I can do all that stuff. Just contact me. We'll figure out what you need me to do and the pricing and all that kind of stuff. I have a DUNS number. It's very above board, very professional. All right. So I wanted to answer some questions that people have for me. Some really good questions. Somebody asked me, they said, Bruce, does SCA, that's security control assessments, required to do implementation statements? So first of all, an implementation statement is it's a little bit of summary. It's like an executive summary that you do for each one of the security controls for NIST 800. I suppose you could do it for CIS controls or ISO 27001 controls, but it's just like a little statement. For example, like if you had AC controls, AC1 controls, AC1 is policy for access control, logical access control on an information system. So if you had a Windows server system, 2016 server system, an implementation statement for that system, if you're doing the controls on it, would be something like the organization DEA has a security policy that covers AC1. It explains the frequency of continuous monitoring. It's done once a year, and the policy is called DEA Security Policy 1, and then you would probably link to it so that somebody can go to it or upload it so that they can read it themselves. It's just a little blurb explaining how you cover that control, and sometimes you will upload like an artifact, some evidence that you're actually doing that particular control. So that's all it is. But for SCAs don't normally, if you are a security control assessor, you're not really doing the implementation statements. It's more like you are seeing if the implementation statements are acceptable. So you would be the person evaluating the implementation statements, if that makes any sense. And how you would do that is you could use this document here. So this is 853A Rev 5, and it walks you through almost everything you need to do as an assessor. So let me just show you what you would be looking for that statement. If you were doing one on AC1, it shows you, kind of gives you an idea of what you should be looking for as an assessor. You have an expected result that you're supposed to be looking for, and it will be covered here. So it tells you how to assess it, what you're looking for, some examples of some documents that you could look for. So no, to answer your question, you would not be doing the implementation statement as an assessor. You would be evaluating that implementation statement, and you would use a document like this to look for expected results. And I mean, this is a long document. It includes every single control, and there's 1,000 controls. So let me just see if I can find AC1 here. I'm on AC4, it's got every single, including all of the enhancements. So it's just like over 1,000 controls. So this is going to take me a while even to search this thing. Let me see. Let's go to AC01 and it won't search it. Okay, that's all right. Let's see here. Okay, it's somewhere here. Okay, here we go. So it says for AC1, you're going to select from access control policy procedures. You're going to look at, it's telling you, you're going to look for their access control policy. And sometimes the access control policy it's among the security policy. The system security policy will usually include a little blurb about access control, and then that would suffice as your policy. So you would evaluate their statements, implementation statements, based off of these assessment methods and objectives. You could also do an interview, or you can do an examination of their documentation. It depends on how you want to do it. And just kind of a sneak peek of the security control assessment course that I'm doing here. This is just one slide from it. It's going to be pretty exhaustive, but this is the process from start to finish for an assessor. This is the kind of stuff an assessor is going to be doing. So they're going to prepare for the assessment. They're going to do a security assessment plan for the assessment, and then going to conduct the assessment. That's where they would evaluate the things like the security, the implementation statement, and then finally do a report for that would have the results of the assessment itself. So that, I hope that answers your question, Kevin. All right, let me go to Jossie. Says, thanks for the video. I'm currently an Oracle database administrator, and I'm currently studying to become an ISO. All right, so just a little advice for you. So if you happen to be in IT, whether you're a DBA, a database administrator, or if you're a network engineer, whatever the case may be, help desk, whatever, and you're trying to go into ISO, cybersecurity compliance, or information system security officer work. That's what an ISO is. If you're trying to do that, then my advice is to change your resume. So take your resume as a DBA, as a database administrator, and go through everything you've ever done that's related to security. Now, if you've been a DBA for some time, you have uploaded patches. You have installed the system and implemented security controls on that database system, or on the system that's hosting the database, the actual server that's hosting the database, or on the Brocade switch, or on the NAS device that you've connected to it. You've done some kind of security in your career. Put that stuff in your resume whenever you've done vulnerability assessments on it. If you've ever done any kind of uploading, like not just patches, but also doing malware, putting malware on there, or removing malware, or doing incident response. All of those things are related to security, or continuous monitoring, where you're monitoring to make sure the system is up, making sure that the system has updated documentation. If you've ever written any kind of documentation at all for the system, all those things you can put in your resume. And those are things that normally people don't put. They kind of sideline that stuff. They don't think about it very often. But the thing is, you've done security before. And so that's the stuff you have to put in your resume if you're trying to transition from any kind of IT position to information system security officer work. All right, so let me see. I've got some other questions here. All right, this is a pretty long one. It's broken up into like a couple different parts. So I'll keep this one short. So this dude says, let me see if I can just kind of skim through the main parts of it. He says he's been doing 4 years. 4 years ago, he became a security control assessor validator. I think that's what that means, for a year and a half, and then transitioned to a cybersecurity engineer because of the technical background. And currently, I specialize in risk management framework, network technologies, and I have a lot of certifications, including a CCNA, CISSP, a CEH, the old CompTIA stuff, and he has a master's degree in public policy and currently is seeking, I think, a high-level certification in degree in cybersecurity. And he said that here's his issue. Okay, all of that. Okay, wait. All of that. He's got a lot of options. There's a lot of ways that he can go with this. He's 44 years old, and he wants to know, wants to make the best of things. And I collected along the way. So he's asking for a direction, like how can he actually, with all this experience and everything he's done in his career field, he's 44 years old, what is the best direction that he can go right now? So I would say it depends on what you want to do with the rest of your career, or if you want to remain in this career path. It really depends. If you want stability, you want just stability for the rest of your time, and you want to retire in 15 years or something like that, or 10, well, actually about 15, 20 years, and you want to be done, but you want stability, and stability is the most important thing, and you're willing to take a pay cut for that stability, absolute stability, I would recommend either a very big, large company like Google, or one of those gigantic companies. Those are pretty secure jobs, and they pay really well. Or I would recommend the government. If you're talking security, just security, straight up security, take a pay cut and get in one of those jobs right there. Or sometimes it's not even a pay cut. If it's Google, it's not a pay cut. Actually, they're going to pay the crap out of you. So some of the large companies, they do that. Now, if you're not really, you're okay. Like you have a big 401k, you've got other streams of income. You don't really need stability from a company. I wouldn't go the government route. I wouldn't go the giant company route. If you are the opposite, you want to really do something, you want to really test yourself, I would say start a business. Start your own business. Now, it's super risky. It's not easy. It takes a lot more time. Like it's not a 9 to 5. It's not a 40-hour work week. It's crazy hours. It's not easy to do that. But if you really want to test your skills, starting a business. Types of business would be contracting, straight up contracting, directly going to government agencies and starting doing contracting as a minority business owner. Right now, there's a lot to learn about how to do LLC and how to do your taxes and all that stuff. There's a lot of things to learn, but it's really going to test you out. Now, if you're somewhere in between, you're not on the extreme side of wanting to go crazy and start your own business and do your own thing, and you're not really concerned with having super stability and working for the government. If you're somewhere in between, where would I recommend you? What would I recommend you to do? You already have a CISSP. You're working on your master's degree. What else could you do? I would say management. I mean, if you're into management, that's the next level. The next level for you is like a sort of like a management, either risk management frame, like either doing ISO management or cybersecurity management or something like that, but a management type role. So you can start to upgrade your career into upper level management and C-level director if you want to do all that kind of stuff. Those are some of the options that you have. Depends, and come back to my original statement. It depends on what you want to do in your career. And I would focus on what you want to do for the next, 15, 20 years of your career. That's what I would do. And it seems like you've been up, like you're at a level like to where you can really, really test the water. So you can go either way. You can actually go start your own business and do it like a side hustle. You could do like a side hustle until the business takes off. You could try that. It's not easy though. That's what I'll say. All right. So I hope that answers your question. He's got another question. He says, also, can you explain the CMMC? Is it like Risk Management Framework 3.0? Okay, no, it's totally different. So, Risk Management Framework. Let me see if I can show you like a diagram of Risk Management Framework. Where is a diagram? Let me see if I can find one. I don't think I really have one inside of this. No, I don't. Wow. Risk Rmf Diagram. I show this all the time, but I just think it's a good representation to understand it almost immediately. This is risk management framework. It's a process. It's expensive. It takes a long time to do. It's not easy. The organization spends lots of money and time and effort to actually complete this process. And it's for federal systems. Federal systems being not just Department of Defense. People immediately think Department of Defense, but all branches of the military do this. Some variant of it. But also DEA does it. Department of Agriculture does it. All the departments, the State Department does it. The embassies do it. The FBI does it. CIA, all organizations do this unless there's a deeper level of NIST where it's even more crazy than what you're seeing here. But it's all variants of this right here. And all of these are protecting federal systems. That's the key. These are all for federal information systems that are supposed to meet this. Now, some states do it. Some contracting agencies do it. So other people can use this. It's not, you don't have to be a federal organization to use it because it's very comprehensive and it has very robust controls. However, if you are a federal information system, you're supposed to do some variant of this right here. It's got 1,000 controls. You don't use all 1,000, but it's got 1,000 to choose one from the tailor to fit your organization's needs. It's got 7 stages that you have to go through to meet this thing. You've got the prepare step in the middle, and then you got categorizing the system, selecting the controls, implementation of the controls, assessment, authorization, and then continuous monitoring. It's a very expensive process. Now, that said, there are systems that are using unclassified information that develop unclassified information, and they're not federal systems. Those don't need the NIST. They don't necessarily need the NIST. They use something called a Cmmc, which is called a Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. And I want to just show you if I have, let me see if I have something to show you here. Yep, okay. Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. Now, what is this for? This is specifically for systems. It's for certified. It's to certify contractor information systems that provide a product or service to the Department of Defense. They have sensitive information that they have to protect because it's for the Department of Defense specifically, but they don't have a federal information system. They don't have a server that's owned by the DEA or FBI or DOD or whatever. They have their own server, but they're processing or transitioning or storing information for the Department of Defense. So I have some examples here for you, but let me just give you a little bit more on this. So these systems are called defense industrial base. These are like small time. Lockheed Martin is probably not a good example of this because they work a lot of times directly on the actual federal systems. But in some cases, if you have subcontractors, smaller subcontractors who are, let's say they're providing the wheels for Humvees for the Department of Defense, and they have to process certain specifications for a new Humvee vehicle that's coming through, and they have to develop this new wheel that has slightly different variations and nomenclature on that wheel. So they have to have specific data on that Humvee. And that data is coming directly from the Department of the Army. So it's not classified information, but it's sensitive information, right? So this information is known as controlled unclassified information. It's government-owned information. It requires some kind of a safeguard for its dissemination, and it has to comply with some of the government laws, regulations, and policies. So controlled unclassified information, and examples of controlled unclassified information would be legal material, health documents, technical drawings, blueprints, intellectual property. So it's not classified. It's not like, oh, the troops are moving in this country over here in the Middle East, and it's satellite information. It's not classified, right? It's not intel. It's not military. It's not logistics. it's not specifically that. It's drawings, legal documentation. It's sensitive. If it was to leak, it would not be good, but it's not going to necessarily damage the United States' place in the world or whatever. Now, why is this important? Something that certifies these types of systems that have controlled unclassified information is because it's actually becoming a problem. Like, hackers, since they know that they can't get the information off of Department of Navy or Department of Army or whatever, they go after soft targets. Soft targets means easy targets, like a school or a bank, or not, bank's not necessarily an easy target, but like a school or like somebody, a place, the nursery. Like, they don't have defenses. They're not expecting anything to happen. There's no threat, normally, especially for data. It's a soft target. So what's happening right now is state-sponsored hackers from Russia, from China, from other countries, really even friendly countries, they're stealing information not from the Marines or the Air Force, but from the contracting agencies who provide information to the Marines or whatever. And what are they doing? They're getting their exfiltrating emails, communications. Stealing, getting it on the server and stealing it right off of there. They're getting contracting details. They're getting product development details. They're grabbing testing timelines. They're grabbing they want to know who's the foreign partners. They're grabbing that kind of information, but they're attacking all of these subcontractors. And so that's why it's really important to protect these smaller contractors with something like a Cmmc. And a real good example of this one would be that just look at this, right? This is China's J-31, and this is U.S. the U.S. military's F-335. And so this thing they spent billions of dollars to develop this, right? This took years and years to develop. This information was stolen from a contractor many years ago, and the Chinese copied it. The Chinese do this a lot. They got probably the world's smartest people. They've got great engineers. They got some of the top scientists and engineers and developers in the world. And to prove how smart they are, they will just steal your billions of dollars worth of development and then use it for themselves. So they just save themselves $1 billion. That's actually pretty smart. So this is why the actual defense contractors and subcontractors have to have a certain level of protection on their systems. Now, what kind of protections do they have? It's not like the protections are different. They don't need this level they don't need 1,000 controls to choose from, because they're not using a federal government system. They're obviously a smaller target. They don't have classified information, but their information is important enough to do something like this. So what you're seeing here, let me see if I can move my my face here. If I can just move myself over here so you can actually see what I'm seeing. Okay. So what you're seeing here are what are called 17 capability domains, or also known as, I believe they call these processes. These are all control domains that the organization who has to do the Cmmc, they have to choose from these controls here. And these are medium level controls for AC, access control, incident response. And these are pulling from the NIST 853. So if you know risk management framework, if you're familiar with the controls, it's very similar. You have a couple of different ones. I think there's recovery. That's not a control family that I'm familiar with, but you've got configuration management. I'm very familiar with that one. System and information integrity, SC controls, AU controls, AT controls. Those are all very familiar to me. So they have to meet one of these levels of security compliance. There's the first level is, and I think I have a better breakdown of this right here. Let me go to that one. So you have to have practices and processes. And processes are documentation. That's like, processes are like policies, procedures written down. And just like we say with the system security plan, they have to have a system security plan. They have to have a security policies, procedures, how they do all this stuff. That's not easy because that's time and money that the organization has to use to get that done. So, that is not an easy, it sounds like an easy test. Like, oh, they could just write up a compliance sheet real quick. No, what if they have 4 or 5 different systems that have to be Cmmc compliant? Like, what if, they're not making that much money? They're making money, but they can't throw $100,000 on a project, right? So this is something that the organization really has to put into the early stages of development. And if they don't, then they're going to spend some money on this. So what you're seeing here is Cmmc Model 1 and Model 2. They're transitioning to 2, but 2 probably won't be out for like another 3-4 years. I mean, it's already out, but they have to do some finalization. The government's very slow, so it's going to take like 3 years for them to actually start to roll this one out. But they're similar in that they still use the same practices and processes. So practices are the actual controls that we saw on the last slide, and the processes are the actual documentation. The current one, Model 1, has levels 1 through 5, with 5 being the most, having the most controls and the most documentation that's necessary for the actual certification. And then the lowest one being level 1, which only has 17 controls that have to be in place. And it's going to require an annual self-assessment. Now once you get to level 2 and 3, or once you get to level 3 and 4, 5, you have to do a third-party assessment. That means a DoD representative comes in, assesses your system, and says, yes, it's good. You did all the practices. You did all the process. Good to go. Or they say, no, it's bad. You start over. You're missing this or that process. Where is these practices at? Things like that. So this is looking like a lot of organizations are going to have to make this transition here pretty soon. And it looks like quite a bit of work. So that is the difference. Risk management framework is very different from Cmmc. Risk management framework is very difficult, and it's for federal systems. And the cybersecurity maturity model is for contracting organizations who work with unclassified information, controlled unclassified information, that have to meet a kind of like a lower standard. But you can see the standard right here. It's not necessarily super easy, but it's going to be easier than the risk management framework process. All right, I hope that answered that question. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if there's any other questions in my inbox here. I apologize if you guys see any kind of offensive things. Every now and then people send me really crazy. I don't know what they're thinking, but that's all right. Somebody said great course. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. This is the one I just answered, I think. Yeah, I just answered that one. Somebody said, thank you, Bruce, for this video. For some reason, this video's got pretty popular. Knowing all the NIST 800 controls, that one did pretty good so far. Let me see here. Okay, this dude mentioned something interesting. So I did a video where I talked about low stress jobs in information technology and risk management in cybersecurity, because a lot of cybersecurity jobs are kind of stressful, to be honest. I know a lot of people who come to my page are seeking this out, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Cybersecurity, depending on the field, on the actual job you're doing, it can get very stressful because you're dealing with. Why is it stressful? It's not like other IT jobs. Like, for example, if you compare it to network engineering, you just need to configure the Cisco devices. You get meetings every now and then to tell people the status of what's going on, but they're not. Emotions aren't necessarily involved. They just want it to work, right? Help desk can be pretty stressful because you're dealing directly with customers who are confused or they're irritated, or you're dealing with different departments. Anytime you're dealing with a lot of different people, it can be stressful. So with cybersecurity, you're not just locked in a closet fixing things or maintaining some system. You have to talk to C-level execs, management, and technical people, and sometimes even customers and clients. These are all three different languages you have to speak. And you have to meet them where they are. That means when they're communicating, you have to communicate using their language. If you're talking to a C-level exec, they don't want to be in the weeds. You need to give them data, vetted data, authenticated, correct information so that they can make decisions for the whole organization. If you're talking to a manager, they're concerned with the operations, the resources that they have currently, and the operations. So you got to speak their language. You don't have to necessarily get in the weeds, but they want to know solutions. How can we get from here to there? If we're fixing this system, or if we're transitioning from one operating system to another, do we have the resources to do it? What does the regulations say? How are we going to get there? And then if you're talking to technical people, sometimes I have to do a few hours worth of homework just to talk to them, because I'm not super in the deep on network attached storage areas, but I'm having to tell them about the fact that we have to do a security port configuration to lock the ports down or something. And I have to be smart on NetApp so that I can explain to them why why we have to put this control on there. So I have to be technical and in the weeds with them, but very high level and with accurate data for the C-level execs. And then the clients, it depends on the situation. It really depends on who you're talking to. Some of them are very technical. Some of them are not technical at all. So you have to sometimes translate something very technical to something that layperson can understand. And sometimes you got to take, for the technical guys, you can't use layperson terms. You got to be very specific, and you got to use that language for that vendor. So it can be stressful in that way. And then sometimes you're dealing with millions of dollars. The process, especially risk management framework, it's that process is not cheap. It takes a lot of man hours to do that. And so if the organization is going in the wrong way for 3-4 months, and now they're figuring out, oh man, we got to restart something, people are going to lose their minds. People are going to get stressed out. Sometimes, and then a lot of times you have to be the bearer of bad news, especially after a scan. A scan happens, and then this vulnerability comes up, and the vulnerabilities, it looks bad. And you have to bring them this bad news and say, hey guys, by the way, the system's going to blow up in 3 days, right? The vendor said that they're no longer supporting this system. And they're like, what are you telling me? So sometimes it's just very stressful. But this person said that there are low stress positions, and that's the truth. And that's in that video I was talking about. There are some there's some positions that I've had that are cybersecurity, but they weren't stressful. And one of those that I mentioned was smaller organizations. Some smaller organizations they're not very stressed out. Some organizations that have their stuff together, they're very organized. They're very, those aren't that stressful. And this person also mentioned training, if I can find it, and that's true too. I didn't mention that one, but that's a really good one. If you're doing you're in the training department and you happen to be in cybersecurity and you're teaching, then that's not going to be as stressful as some of these other IT jobs. Hey, David. David says, do you see yourself staying in risk management framework or cybersecurity, or do you have aspirations of becoming a director or information security CISO type of role? Great question, David. No, for me personally, I don't see myself doing any kind of director information security type role. I don't have any interest in doing that. Personally, I don't have any interest doing it. I like the technical aspects of it. I got into technology because I thought it's fascinating to me. For me, technology is like toys. I like figuring things out. I like puzzles. That's the fun part for me. The CISO role or director role, it doesn't interest me. It would have to be some company I really believed in for me to do something like that. It would have to probably be a company I started. Like if I started a company, then I would do it. But to be in another person's company and then be a upper level manager, for me, it has no, like, I'm not interested in that at all. Like it doesn't make me happy. It doesn't excite me, nothing. Like for me personally, I know a lot of people who are like a real good friend of mine who is a mentor to me for a long time. This dude like is really wanting to be a manager, a director level person to influence change throughout an organization, and that's his whole thing. And that's, I'm like, wow, man, yeah, here's how you can do it. I'm giving him some advice and stuff on people who I've known who've done it, because he's at a high level, technically a high level, but has never progressed beyond like a senior engineer or architect, but he's trying to go to that upper level management type, and he could do it. I mean, but me personally, I don't want to do it. I see myself doing like starting a business or something like that. Doing what I'm doing now. Actually, this is something I would like to do, and I'm going for it. I'm really going for it, and that's why I have Convocourses. And it might not work out. I might find myself back in the corporate world, but what do I have to lose, right? I want to at least try it. So that's why I'm selling courses. That's why I'm teaching. This is something I actually like to do. I like to having a direct influence on a person, for me, is more rewarding personally. So that's kind of the direction I would like to go. But we'll see how this all works out, David. I really don't know. I mean, this is really I'm kind of taking some risks, some managed risks here for my career path, and we'll see how it works out. Let me see if I have some other questions I can answer. I normally start these at 1. I think I started this one a little bit early. And yeah, just so you guys know, I'm almost at 10,000 subscribers. I'm almost at 10,000. I've got like four away from actually having 10,000. It's pretty amazing. Let me see if I can show you that. YouTube Convocourses. Watch this. This is pretty crazy. Amazing. I might already be at 10,000, right now as we speak. It's crazy. Some people get to 10,000 in a day. For me, everything I've had to work my ass off for. So this is no exception. So look at this. Look how close I am to 10,000 subscribers. Amazing. I'm about, 4 subscribers away from 10,000. Let me see. No big deal. I've done this. I've done it before. I had a channel with over 10,000 or a group over 10,000. Let me see here. I think I have this. I don't know if I read this question before. Great vid. I'm new to DoD and your stuff. It really helped me understand what I should be doing, which also translates to being more confident in interviews. Currently, I'm an ISO for a non-critical system. Small organization. I'm surprised how chill it is. Honestly, I feel like a slacker. The only downside is not getting paid what I should, but about to get remedied with an IA offer. Okay, this dude's got an IA offer. That's really great. Also, just a side note, he says incident response sucks. Oh man, really? Does it suck? I've done a little bit of incident response, but not like the incident response. I was on a security operations center, and I actually liked it. I actually liked that part of it. But then I used to do incident responses, but it was for incident. We had security incidents. Yeah, those did suck. That was not fun. So security incidents where we would respond to somebody putting classified material accidentally on an unclassified or sending it out to people they couldn't. Then we had to purge the system and do all this documentation. Man, that was horrible. And then people all stressed out and panicking and stuff. Yeah, I don't miss that. I really don't miss that. Okay, let me see. I don't really have. So David, what about you? Do you see yourself being a director? Is that the direction you're trying to go? I think I actually answered quite a few of these a week or so ago. So I'm just going to go ahead and like some of these. Somebody said, well defined. This is a video I did. Wow, I did this video like 6 years ago. What is risk management framework? NIST 800. I mean, it hasn't changed much. So, I mean, it's pretty much exactly the same explanation. So that one's evergreen. That one's going to be around for a while. If you guys are late to the game, if you didn't know, I have a book on Amazon that is currently #1 for management information systems. If you happen to have already bought the ISO Risk Management Framework ISO Foundations course, this book will be in there. So congrats on that one. You have it. You're going to have it soon. I'm going to upload it there. And it's fourth. Look, it's first and it's fourth because there's two different kinds. There's a hard copy and a soft copy. And it's just straight to the point. It's just in layman's terms what the risk management framework process is all about. And yeah, it's only 80 pages and just goes straight to the point, explains it. That's it. That is it. But if you happen to be a subscriber, since you guys watch me on a regular basis, if you want to buy this book, it's $10. $10 if you're actually on the site and it's a PDF. If you prefer PDFs, it's not always going to be $10. I'm going to definitely raise the price on this. So check that out. If you happen to be on my newsletter, then you happen to get a special deal on this one. A very special deal, as a matter of fact. A very special offer. So if you happen to be already signed up for free on the website, and you might have already gotten an email from me directly, so check out your email on that one. Don't ignore that one. You definitely want to pay attention to that one. And I'm going to have more newsletters come out with other offers like this. So stay tuned. If you haven't signed up for free, you can sign up. Enrollment is free. And I've got a ton of free downloadables, such as, let me show you one free downloadable. This one right here. This template. This is just NIST 800 templates vetted by myself. Things that are good. Like if you happen to be looking for a system security plan, for example, then yeah, you can just download this for free, but you have to sign up to download it and to get that. All right, let me see if there's any other questions. If not, this is going to be a short one, and I'll let you guys get back to your day. Not a lot. I think I answered a lot of these, and I need to get back to creating the security control assessor course and working on that. So I'm going to get going, guys. Thanks for watching once again. And I'll